Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fearlessly Authentic. I'm your host, Jodi Harrison Bauer, and I'm so happy to have you here today. If you are a first-time listener, welcome. This is the show where we educate you, empower you with that information, entertain you, and inspire you to live your most fearlessly authentic life. Because in my humble opinion, what are we doing if we're not trying to live our most fearlessly authentic life? And I also want to thank you all so much for rating, reviewing, and subscribing because we are now a top 5% globally ranked podcast, and that's all because of you. So let's get into the show. My guest today is Kenny Santucci. You will feel his heart. Trust me, he has been in the fitness wellness industry for a long time, and his heart is in fitness, wellness, and trying to help as many people as possible. And his event on October 5th, Strong New York, is coming up, and you will hear all about it in this episode today. So let me tell you a little bit about Kenny Santucci. Kenny Santucci is a leading fitness trainer in New York City with over a decade of experience in health and wellness industry. Having transformed his own life through fitness at age 15, Kenny's mission is to help others do the same. A former collegiate wrestler, he has completed multiple marathons, Ironmans, and triathlons. He has trained celebrities like John Bon Jovi, Liev Schreiber, and Frank Ocean, and has been featured in publications such as Men's Health and Runner's World. Kenny owns the Strength Club, a premier training facility in New York City and Caldwell, New Jersey, and is the creator of Strong New York, a leading fitness and wellness expo featuring workouts, panels, and brand experiences for all levels of fitness and enthusiasts. Welcome to the show, Kenny.
Thank you so much. It's an honor and pleasure to be here.
So I wanted to start by introducing you to the audience and asking you, how did you go from your journey of being on TV, the real world, and then there was the challenge, right?
hmm
To fitness, but how did you get on TV when reality TV back then? Now, remember, I'm 20 years older than you. So that was groundbreaking back in, how old were you? It was over 20 years ago.
Yeah, I was 21 when I got on.
Yeah. So how did you find out about that?
At the time, I have no idea. At the time, a friend of mine who I was seeing, a girl I saw was seeing in college, she actually was a big fan of the show. She heard about a casting call. Obviously, like the internet wasn't as big of a thing back then.
Right.
So I don't even know how she found out. Um, but we went to an open casting call. It was an open casting call in Syracuse, New York.
Wow. You probably had no idea like what you were going to get yourself into because you were on the show for a really long time.
Yeah, you know what? I always thought I would have been one and done. I didn't think I was that interesting of a person. I didn't have like some crazy backstory or a drug problem or like I wasn't sleeping with anybody. So I thought wasn't that interesting of a character. So what would be the point of bringing me back?
So why did they bring you back for so many years?
I'll tell you what I've gotten from the production team or what I got from the production team at the time was they were like, you're just easy to deal with. You know, they were like, you're not a hard time. You're easygoing. And a lot of people, especially in that situation, if you've ever worked in television, people could be real divas. And, I was kind of on the happy to be there program. Like I was a fat kid from New Jersey who didn't really have much else going on. So for me, it's like this was an honor and a privilege to be there. Like I didn't it was impressive that they even wanted me there. So I was just happy to be there.
Were you still the fat kid when you were on the show, or had you lost all your
No, I
weight?
had lost the weight already, but I think mentally I was still a fat kid for sure.
Yeah, I need to veer off to that for a second
Yeah.
because I feel that a lot of people that grow up with a weight issue,
hmm
feeling like the fat kid, always still have that in their mind. And I think that's something that you had to overcome. That was a journey that you had to work on and you had to dedicate yourself to it. But in your mind, you're like that for a really long time, maybe forever, right?
Yeah, I definitely think, I mean, I've made it my whole life's work that
Right.
I kind of chose my career out of selfishness to take care of myself and like give me no reason why I shouldn't be in the gym because this is where I have to be as on a daily basis. So the more I learn and understand and know what I should be doing, the less excuses I'll have as to why I don't do it. So for me, it was a perfect synergy. And then I really do get joy from watching people get better and grow and teaching them things that I really enjoy teaching.
Yeah, it is a wonderful thing to watch that journey, but I
Yeah.
think it's always interesting for me to watch the kid that was heavy transform him or herself, and then living in this vessel that we were all given in the healthiest version of them. But they still, I think there's this empathy that they have for other people going through that same transition or that same journey.
Yeah, I was just saying that same thing last night. I was sitting at a dinner with a bunch of, new friends, a lot of people I don't know. And one gentleman shared a story about how he lost 150 pounds and that, he's on this whole new health kick. Um, and while he was telling a story, I had said, I was like, because somebody brought me up and they were like, didn't you used to be fat? And I was like, yeah, as this guy's telling his story, I feel very empathetic towards it because I know exactly what he was feeling. I know exactly where he was. Especially, and people are like, well, you weren't that heavy. You haven't been that heavy since you were a kid. I go, well, that's your most vulnerable time. The trauma that you feel as a child last with you more than, by the time you get to our age, nobody gives a shit. Like you'd say whatever you want to me. If somebody curses me out in the street now, I don't even pay attention to it, but like as a kid, it's very traumatic to have someone, make fun of you or be abrasive with you.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, it's definitely stuck with me, and it's definitely been the reason why I do everything I do. And it's why I do this for a living because I want to help as many people because you know how terrible it is, right? Like I'm
Right.
always a big fan of saying like, oh, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. It's like I wouldn't want somebody to be that uncomfortable. So I get very upset and argue with people when they encourage people to be overweight and out of shape.
I 100% agree with you. And I grew up with a morbidly obese sister,
Mhm.
and she was sent away to Weight Watchers camp, and she's just always carried that on her shoulders. And I helped her lose 100 pounds. Uh,
Wow.
then she gained it all back. So it's always been something that she's carried with her. And I think that's part of the reason why I decided to get into fitness so strongly. But it was also that I'd gained 45 pounds when I was pregnant in 1989. And I thought, I'm not going to be that mom that holds all this weight because my mom was overweight also. So I always had this, oh my God, could I look like her? Is that going to happen to me? Is that what happens back then? Is that what happens to all women who have babies? They all just keep the baby weight. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to be like that. And then from there, my whole fitness career started.
Yeah.
So I think you and I are very much aligned with that.
Yeah, I think our generation and younger generations are still affected by some of the poor research that's done. For instance, I had a young girl in here just now. I was training a girl who's 23 years old, 24 years old. She's like, well, my doctor told me this, this, and this. And I go, a lot of those studies and understandings are old studies about the average person in 1970 or 1980. We don't realize that as you get healthier, as you take care of yourself, like human optimization hasn't ever been a thing before the last 20, 30 years. We
Right.
now think about, okay, well, we now know smoking is terrible for us and drinking is terrible for us. It's like, it's not that we didn't know before, but we now have a more thorough understanding of the effects on our stomach, on our brain, on our overall health and wellness, our longevity. So now that we understand all this stuff, now we could start to base studies off if you optimize, how long could you live? How well could you live? Right? Because everybody's like, well, you can't really do that. It's like, well, no one's ever done it before. So it's like if someone lives a healthy life, like you can name all the people who lived a healthy lifestyle a generation or two generations before us. I remember being a kid and like Jack LaLanne was an anomaly.
I was just going to say Jack LaLanne. I think
Yeah.
about Jack LaLanne. I'm in Miami now. I think about Jack LaLanne, even though he's not from Miami, but I see a lot of older people here, and
Yeah.
they're these guys are jacked. The women, look great. And
And
I
they're
think
well
about
into
Jack
their
LaLanne.
60s and 70s.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think there's still, I have clients who say, oh, I can't do that because I'm in my 60s. I can't do that because I'm in my 70s. I was like, the only limitations you really have are the ones you're putting on yourself. You could do so much more.
self-limiting. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. I know. And that I think, so going from back to your TV time.
Mhm.
What led you from you were famous, you became famous. It
Right.
wasn't the same kind of fame we have now, right? Because we
Yes.
didn't have social media back then. So what was that like for you?
It was a little bit different because, right now you could be YouTube famous, Instagram famous, TikTok famous, famous on OnlyFans. You could be famous for 100 different things. Back then, the only thing really was television or movies. So for me, it was definitely surreal at first. I got treated very differently. I went from being a fat kid in high school where I couldn't get somebody to pee on me if I was on fire to now getting attention that I didn't think was really warranted, other than the fact that I was on television.
Right.
Um, so yeah, it was definitely interesting for sure.
Yeah. So from there, what made you start your fitness journey? I mean, you
So
were
I
always
yeah,
been working out since you were like 15 or 16 years old, right?
yeah. So I started working out when I was like 13, 14 years old. I was like just reading muscle magazines, and you know, for Christmas, my junior year of high school, I got the Arnold Encyclopedia to bodybuilding. So I was really into it at a young age, and then really started to dive in after college, and wanted to start doing it as a career. Like that was the goal, was to like make this my living. Um, and I was I was kind of just drawn to it. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to be in a gym. So for me, it was an easy transition. Easy in the sense to make the decision to do it, hard in the sense to go from a really good job to, starting at the bottom again.
Right. And back then, I mean, I started my fitness career in 1989.
Wow.
So I've been doing this for 35 years, but I've been lifting since I was 20, so it's been 43 years that I've been lifting weights. And
Wow.
back then, there weren't a lot of gyms for women. And there was Gloria Stevens, which you probably don't even know of.
Never even heard of it.
You've never heard of it?
No.
Yeah, it was what it was, like a circuit training for women. So we would go to one circuit and we'd do overhead presses or whatever it would be. And then it was circuit training, but it
Okay.
was women only because the only thing we had back then was like golds. So there was golds, and then that was very intimidating for women to go to,
Mhm.
especially if you're new at it. I started in 89. You started in, I'm just wondering, did you start when there were big box
2000s.
gyms?
Yeah, so I started working for a friend of mine who had a small boutique gym in New Jersey, and
Mm,
we moved to the city a couple months later. Then I started at an Equinox.
okay.
So I did start at a big box gym.
Yeah. So a lot of people even don't even understand right now what a big box gym is anymore because
Yeah.
everything has gone so boutique-y. But even some of the boutique-y gyms like Equinox, I worked there for a little while, was very boutique-y, but now I just went to go visit one in Miami. It was very corporate. And so I think people still want that boutique-y, especially after the pandemic. I think people really want to feel like a community, moving like, really feeling like they're obviously for personal training, that they have a communication that's really personal with their trainer. But for a boutique gym, they want that intimate feeling. I don't think anyone wants that big box anymore. I mean, I was working out at Planet Fitness back then.
Yeah. I think the more the consumer is educated on what they should be doing, they're going to start to find their tribe. Because for me, there's three pillars of overall health, in my opinion. There's the training factor. So, like, what are you actually doing? Like, what does your program look like? Are you hiking? Are you running? Are you lifting weights? Do you do, boxing, whatever it may be, yoga, Pilates, all that? Then you have the column where it's health and wellness, right? Or like the recovery side of things. Are you eating well? Are you sleeping well? Right?
Right.
Those are really important. And everybody puts it in a pyramid scheme, but I think it's definitely like legs of a table, basically. And then, the third most important, in my opinion, would be the communal aspect. And people, we are tribal creatures and we want to be around other people. And I
Right.
think that's so important when it comes to mental health. And, you know, I tell people, if I could give you one superpower in the gym or in any aspect of life, it's to be consistent and accountable. Consistent so that you continue to grow and learn, and like making that, the 1% or 0.5% better every day. and the accountability to other people that like might need you to do it for them. And it's not just necessarily about you. So like when I go to the gym, it's not just about me. It's I have to take care of my staff. I have to take care of my clients. I have to inspire the people around me. So that's what kind of keeps me going. It keeps me hungry is
Hmm.
because I'm not just worried about myself. So accountability and consistency to a community or a family of some sort that you know rely on.
So would you, if you had to express your philosophy around fitness,
Mhm.
would you say it's community, or how would you describe your philosophy when it comes to fitness?
Um, I think it's I think it's a form of religion. I think it's something that we need to maintain and do every day. I look at it as if it's like hygiene, right? Like,
Oh my
you
God, don't even use, I use that all the time. Go
yeah,
ahead. Go
I
ahead.
say it all the time. It's like, it should be like brushing your teeth. It should be like going to the bathroom. It should be and it's not necessarily this one thing that you do anymore, right? People used to go, oh, I go to the gym twice a week. No, this is something you're active every day, whether it's you're running, you're dancing, Pilates, yoga, lifting weights. I think people need to be as active as possible. I think that, what I built the business around and the event around is just getting more New Yorkers to move because I feel like we could heal people through movement. When you find that tribe and you find a group of people that care about you, listen, the worst people in the world look for community, want community. That's why they join a gang because all of us want to be a part of something bigger than us.
Mhm.
So if we know we all want to be a part of something bigger and we all want to feel good, right? Well, then the gym is just that. Like church
I
is
agree.
a community where you feel accepted and you feel wanted. And, I think a gym is the same way. So if you go to a big box gym and you don't talk to anybody, well, then you don't have that sense of religion. You don't feel like you belong. What I love about a small boutique gym like mine is that, everybody is there for the greater good of everyone else.
Mm.
I think that's what helps the world go.
I love that philosophy, and I'm sure that your clients feel it. When I was working at Planet Fitness and at another gym, I was actually working at three gyms. I knew that I wanted to pull those women out of that big box because so
Mhm.
many of them felt uncomfortable. And
Yep.
that's when I opened up my studio in 2010, I created a boutique fitness studio because I felt that the women needed that. And going back to your point about the religion, the community, the daily habits, it's right. It's like if you tell somebody you go to the dentist and they say, okay, Kenny, your teeth look great, your gums are healthy. And you're like, okay, I guess I never need to see you again, right?
Yeah.
No, it's like, no, you need to continue. It's like
Mhm.
when your clients reach a goal, they're like, so I'm good. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, no, you're good if you do this forever and ever and ever. Like, why
Yeah.
would you
Yeah.
stop? How do you
Yep.
feel? Right?
Yeah, my goal with a lot of my clients is get to teach them as much as they can so that they understand and they become addicted to it. That they understand that like, oh, this is something I have to maintain. This is something I have to do all the time. And there's a lot of things that, I have a fear of when it comes to like AI and all this stuff. But the one thing that I kind of truly believe is that we, if we want to survive as a race, as a species, we need to continue to um, to move, right? And it's such an important part of what we are and who we are. And I explain this to everybody in the like with the idea that if I lay in a bed and I atrophy, start to fall apart, like I'm no longer human. I'm almost becoming a vegetable, basically. I'm not doing anything. The more I move, the better I look, the better I feel, the more magnetic I am towards other people. So it's like if you take the two extremes and you're like, well, if I do nothing, I look like this. And if I do a lot, I look like this. So why wouldn't I lean towards that way? I'm not saying 100% you have to be like the two of us, where it's like
Right.
we've made it our whole lives, but it should be a huge part of your life. You know, I added kids classes to the event last year because I wanted people to bring their kids, let them learn from world-class athletes how to move better. Somebody was telling me yesterday, they were like, yeah, I took my kid to a local gym here. And they were like, the instructor wasn't great. I go, so why you would come to an event like mine is because I have world-class Olympic level athletes and, world-class champions in different sports and different arenas teaching people how to move. So you'll notice the difference in skill level, right? So now you're going to go and find a better trainer, a better coach, a
Be
better
elevated.
instructor. Yeah. And now you're going to become more addicted because now you're like, wow, I've seen it 1,000 times with different gyms and different events and, friend groups and things like that. People are always looking for somebody to rally behind or somebody to believe in. Like everybody wants something to believe in. Like you go to a certain school because you're like, oh, this professor over there really knows their stuff and they're so cutting edge and they're working on all these like this new research. So kids are like, I want to go to that school because I want to work under that person, because he's leading the charge in the thing that I believe in, and now I'll be a part of something bigger than me because I go to this place.
That's an incredible point. I love that you brought that up. That is a great point. So let's talk about your event coming up in October,
Sure.
October 5th.
October 5th.
Let's talk about Strong New York.
The concept is a all-day health and wellness expo, kind of festival style, geared towards the average consumer. It's not just for fitness professionals. It's an opportunity for people to learn and grow within the health and wellness space and learn how to take better care of themselves. We cover everything from sleep, rest, recovery, neuroscience, longevity to exercise and workouts and different gyms. So, you know, show off whatever they're doing. We'll have different brands, 50 plus brands showcasing product. It's almost insane to me that, we haven't sold out right away because, you look at the Food and Wine Festival, you look at Comic-Con, you looked at, just this year, they had Fanatics Fest, and these things will get hundreds of thousands of people, and there's nothing more important than your health and wellness. And
It's the
everybody,
foundation of everything.
everything. It's
Everything.
the foundation of your happiness. If you get up in the morning, you feel good, then everything becomes exponentially easier. And
Not only will you feel physically better, you will feel mentally better. It
yes,
is if and I meant to say this to you before when you were talking about the community. When I got divorced in 2002, if it wasn't for the gym and the community that I had and the strength that I had gotten within myself, mind and body, I would have never been able to get through that time.
absolutely. Yeah. I tell people all the time, I read a study years ago on basically this idea that everybody's in pursuit of like, I need a significant other, right? I need to be with someone else. But those relationships tend to crash and burn more so than ever before nowadays. What you hold on to for life and what most people do, and the Harvard study that they did 100 years ago basically said the people that live the best lives are the ones who have good friends around them their whole lives, right? It's not the amount of money you have. There are multiple people who are, married, divorced, married again. It doesn't even matter. Like those relationships will come and go. Community and being around people that you trust and love, it's not just a significant other. You could live without a significant other. Even personally, my dad passed away in 2019. My mom has been, single now. She was with my father for 46 years. She knows nothing but my father. And this man now dies, and my mother's been alone for the past 5 years by herself. Obviously, she has us, but at the same time, like everybody says, I don't want to die alone. But it's like, unless you both die in a plane crash together or a car accident, it's like you guys are going to fall apart at different times in life. And
Right.
you're going to need good people around you. And my mom and my dad were always really good about having their friends around. Like my house was like cheered. Like people would just like always roll through. My dad's friends, my mom's friends, and I love that. And I'm like that, and that's what I love about owning a gym is because people come and go, but it's always this revolving door of everybody knows everybody's name and it feels good to be there and it keeps me
Yes.
young and happy. And I have
Yeah.
9-year-old clients and I have 85-year-old clients. And I love when they come in here and they want to just come hang out and sit and have a Celsius and chat with everybody. It keeps people young. Like you can't live
Yeah.
without good relationships in life. And there actually yesterday I was talking to a gentleman, billionaire, absolutely loaded. And he's like, I don't have to work another day in my life. He goes, but I continue to work because I'm so afraid of not having, because he's not married or anything. He's like, I'm so afraid of not having people to converse with who
Mm,
want me around. It's
yes.
like, because I have enough money that people just want to use me for my money. He's like,
Mm.
but when I'm around other work people who have just as much money as me, I don't feel like they need me. So he likes this hustle and bustle work because it makes him feel wanted. And I feel like purpose is such an important thing for us as well, that we need to find a purpose in like what we do for a living. And it keeps us motivated and happy and moving along. I think a lot of this depression and anxiety and a lot of these things that we're people are dealing with today is because we lack a purpose in life.
I agree with you. I feel your heart.
Mhm.
And I'm so glad that we're having this conversation because I really feel your heart in everything that you're talking about. In the brief time that we met, I knew I felt your big heart, but even more so because I could tell that you really love what you're doing. You're here for the right reason.
Mhm.
And because nobody else would put their own money into this event. You've been doing this, what, for like 9, 10 years?
Yeah, about eight.
And
This will be the eighth one that we do.
okay.
Yeah,
And you did it. So the purpose in doing this, going back to why you created this, was to heal people, to educate people.
yeah.
Um, and you were starting to say also when I interrupted you that all of these other, weekend things, Comic-Con or fanatics, whatever, all those things,
Mhm.
have all these people coming, but for health and wellness, people don't necessarily want to go to them, right?
Yeah, well, for instance, like one of my friends, she was telling me she took her kids there to the
Hmm.
Fanatics thing, and she's like, yeah, it was like $2,000 for her, her husband, and her three kids. And then when they got there, they're paying $200 for an autograph, $500 for baseball cards, thousands of dollars, right? When people say to me, "Oh, it's $150 to go to your event," you don't think that's a lot? When people understand the value, they're like, "Oh my God, you should make the ticket way more expensive." And I made the barrier of entry as low as I possibly can because I go, what if I told you you can change the way you think, live, eat, rest, recover, all the things that are the most important to you, and you can meet someone potentially there out of
Hmm.
the 5,000 people, hopefully, that we get there, you can meet someone who will be a workout friend that will keep you accountable. You can meet someone who changes the way you think about diet and exercise. Like there are so many positives that could potentially happen. So if I told you I could change your life for $150, you'd be a moron to not take me up on
Hey,
it. And
yet people resist. They
yeah,
still resist.
but they'll pay $250 for a shitty Italian meal here in the city, and they'll pay thousands of dollars to go to a fucking Taylor Swift concert. When there's no return, like, oh my God, it was a great time. It's like I've had a lot of great times, but the things that have changed my life for the better are when I invested in myself, right?
Hmm.
When I go and took a course, when I went and learned, when I said yes to something that might not have been as easy as being like, yeah, let's go drink tonight.
Hmm.
People spend an obscene amount of money on alcohol these days, right? Like you go to a bar, the Ritz Carlton's right here over by my gym. It is like $40. It's like $38 for a cocktail. You're going
Right.
to tell me. So after you have two, three drinks, you take somebody out to dinner, you go, you're looking at a two, three, $400 bill, just to
Mhm.
go have drinks.
Right. But
And
you
then
won't spend it on a trainer or you won't spend it on learning how to eat better.
exactly,
I know.
exactly.
Well,
You know,
people spend their money and time with things that are priorities to them, yet
yeah,
they'll complain about their backache or their
exactly.
being overweight or their gut doesn't feel
Or,
good.
or big picture issue. I can't meet anybody. I'm lonely. Well, it's like, what are you looking for in a partner? If you have most people write down what they want somebody who looks good, who takes care of themselves, who's always in a good mood. I'm like, well, you're describing someone who's fit, active, healthy. If you want that in a partner, why wouldn't you do the same thing for yourself? Right? When all these people are like, oh, all these people go to these run clubs now. They're like, I want to meet somebody. It's like, well, how do you expect to meet someone? Your goal should be, I want to be as magnetic as I possibly can towards everyone. I want everybody, because you're constantly selling yourself, whether you're going for a new job or you're trying to meet somebody else. You want to be as magnetic as you possibly can. So why don't you become the most, I don't want to say attractive, because it's not like I wrote these rules. People are attracted to.
It's a vibration. It's a vibe.
Yes.
It's a
Yeah.
vibe. It doesn't really, sure, there's physical attraction, there's fitness. If you want to find somebody fit and fun and smart and curious, then you have to be those things yourself, which is
Yeah.
why I moved to Miami.
Yes. Yeah. But
Um,
there's a reason why, it's not like somebody woke up in the 90s and goes, "Oh, sex sells. We should just do that." It's like, no, it's always been the thing. We gravitate towards beauty, right? Everyone, whether it's a celebrity or a professional athlete or a boss, or it doesn't matter who it is. Like, we're attracted to that, because we see the work ethic. It doesn't happen overnight, despite what people want to think. When people come in the gym, they're like, "Well, I don't want to get too jacked." It's like, if you knew how hard it was, and how long and how much effort, it doesn't happen by mistake. So when we see it, like, even for myself, I see guys and I'm like, I know how long that must have taken them. I know how much effort and work it takes to look that way, and in a partner, in a female, like, people are like, "You wouldn't date anybody who doesn't work out?" I go, "No, because our values wouldn't align. We'd be two ships sailing in opposite directions."
right. And I just have to laugh because you're like, you have a client come in, they're like, I don't want to get too dragged. And I remember women coming to me and saying, "Well, I don't want to have big muscles like you have." I'm like, "Don't worry, you won't." Because I've been doing this for about 40 years. So
Yeah.
don't worry, you won't, because
Yeah.
this takes a lot of work. But I totally understand that. I agree with everything that you're saying. So for somebody to come to your event,
Yep.
it is just one day. And what will be there? Will they be able to work out? Will they
Yeah.
be able to buy things? What is the
You can
experience?
do I created a $50 ticket just to um, get people through the door and see and let people experience it. And basically,
Okay.
when you walk in the door, we have something for everybody. It's a lifestyle, it's a health and wellness lifestyle event. And we have everything from tattoo artists to piercings to hair braiding to haircuts to chiropractors, physical therapists, stretch therapists, acupuncture, cold plunging. We have a jujitsu class. We have a boxing class. We have Pilates. We have yoga. We have lifting. We have a whole station where they're just going to be doing like powerlifting and like a competition. We have stretch classes. We have
Exciting. I want
yeah,
to come. I'm coming.
yeah. I hope you go. I'd love to have you there.
Yeah.
And then all the brands that we have there. We have um, uh, clothing brands and a smoothie bar and supplement company and Therabody, which is like the recovery station, and Adidas is doing a whole pop up with a like a pop up shop with all their new gear.
Mhm.
So there's like so much stuff going on, you won't even be able to experience it all.
Mhm.
But I tell people, and then we have a whole main stage where it's the educational aspect of it, where we have doctors and neuroscientists and health experts from every background and every walk of life teaching people like, hey, they're like 15-minute TED Talk style, like just quick blurbs on like what you should be doing for sleep and recovery and all these things. Like, these are world-renowned experts that would cost tens of thousands of dollars to go see.
Right.
Happen to be friends with some of them. I paid some of them. This event is not cheap. And how I pitch it to the brands is like, hey, for you to put something together like this would cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm doing all the work. I've been doing all the work.
Right.
For a small fee, help me continue to put this on, come on board and help me spread fitness, because I was going to FIBO, Arnold, Ursa, Idea Conference, Summer Strong. I mean, every and any fitness event that's in the US or overseas. I've been to all of them. And I go, how do we not have one here in New York? This
Right.
should be the biggest one. This should be the mecca of fitness. And all the big boutique studios that you get everywhere else in the country all started here in New York.
Right.
I sat with the owner and CEO. Yeah, we actually spoke this morning of Lifetime, which in my opinion is the biggest box gym. They're doing it better than everybody else right now.
Yeah, they're
Right.
changing. The brand is just
The
they're
brand,
did right.
they're leading the charge in this what I want to say, like the health club slash kind of lifestyle retreat type,
Right.
all inclusive. It's almost like a golf course for
Right.
fit.
It's an inclusive, all inclusive wellness center.
Exactly. Right.
Mhm.
So it's like for $200 or $300, whatever it is, like you can have your whole family there, and like there's spas and everything.
Right.
And we were talking this morning and we were saying that like people are so quick to not spend money on health and wellness, and they'll spend it on all these other things, but it's a no-brainer. Like this will set you apart from everybody else. You're going to feel better. And then think of the example you set for your kids and your life moving forward, right? Like I now know how to take care of myself, which is so important, right? Because the one problem that everybody always says they have is like, well, I go to the gym and I don't know what to do. Well, I don't know what I should be eating, right? How many clients have you said, well, I don't know what I should be eating? It's like, okay, how's this? Do you think you should have a fucking ice cream cone after every meal you have? No.
Right.
Okay, so you answered your own fucking question. So
All
let's
right.
cut
So stuff right.
yeah, let's cut out
Right.
the ice cream. How's this? Do you think you should have soda for lunch every day? No. Okay, so let's cut that out. How many do you think you should have 11 beers on a Sunday while you're watching football? No. Okay, so you can answer all your own fucking questions. Now what you need is someone to kick you in the ass or an
Mhm.
event to
Hold you accountable.
to be a catalyst for you to live the best life, because it's hard to say no now, but when you get into this rhythm and this pace of taking care of yourself, then you think about, oh my God, what was I doing to myself? Why was I doing that? I felt like shit. I looked like shit. Why would I do that to myself? So I encourage people, like, I don't care where you go to the gym. Like, I don't even promote my gym at my own event. Like the branding for my gym and the event are two separate businesses for this reason only. I don't want people to be like, oh, I'm here to promote my gym. Fuck that. I don't even care about my gym at the
Right.
event. It's
Right.
about everyone else's gym. We have Barry's boot camp there. We have Tone House. We have all the boutique studios here in New York. I have a couple gyms in New Jersey and Long Island coming, setting up chiropractor's office, physical therapist office, because I want people to,
You want them to know what it's like
yeah,
to feel well.
there's so much out there. You should be doing something. Like, don't tell me there's nothing. There's something out there for everyone, and I just want more people moving. And in the morning, and it's like I'm paying people to come and do free classes in the morning for all the people who are like, well, it's too expensive. It's like, okay, well, here's 2 free workouts. You can go do that with literally world class,
Right.
you know, military personnel, 40-year veterans of the Navy SEALs running a boot camp class. A friend of mine who's been to the CrossFit Games multiple times, a phenomenal coach, a business and gym owner for 10 plus years, are leading these classes. Like, to go work out with these people would cost you tens of thousands of dollars, you know? So it's like, why wouldn't you take advantage of it? Especially here in New York. There's 8 million people here. You're going to tell me that we can't get 5 fucking thousand people to come work out, but we could
You
get
will.
250,000 at Comic-Con to go eat fucking buttery popcorn and read comic books? Like, come on. It's
Kenny,
crazy.
I agree with you. So how can people find out more about it and attend?
StrongNewYork.com.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it's super simple. Everything's on the website. There's a $50 ticket for the people who just want to come and look at everything and, kind of mingle on the expo floor. And then if you want to like take classes and do all that stuff, it's $150. A regular class anywhere else is, or in New York City, right? Because everything's more expensive. A cup of coffee is $10. So you could come, we have coffee vendors, we have food vendors, we have everything. So it's the best possible experience. I dump my heart and soul into this thing because I truly believe in it.
I can feel it. I can feel it.
Yeah, and if I know what fitness did for me, it saved my life
Hmm.
and my mind, and I've
Yeah.
seen it do it for all my clients, and it saved my mother's life. I got my mom into working out 15 years ago. She was almost 100 pounds over, and she got into fitness, and now it's like it's her claim to fame. It's like her badge of courage that she's 73 years old and she's been working out for 15 years, and she's stronger than all her friends. And she's like, at 73 years old, I could deadlift 200 pounds, you know? So she loves that. But there, I have probably 20 clients over the age of 70 years old. And it's there, every one of them, every single one of them will say, the only thing that keeps me going is the fact that I continue to do this. So you might not see a difference at 30 between a 30-year-old that works out and a 30-year-old that doesn't work out. But when you start to get to 50, 60, 70, there's a clear difference between a 50-year-old that works out and a 50-year-old that doesn't work out. There's a huge difference between a 60-year-old that doesn't work out. Right? When I met you, I'm like, she's fucking hot. I'd hit on you. You were trying to set me up with your daughter. I was like, it's incredible. You like, I showed somebody a video of you the other day, you running up the hill and you like backpedaling.
Yeah.
I go, this woman does not move like a 60-year-old. That's
No.
not average 60. You are light years ahead of most people. And I went to go see the Rolling Stones a couple months ago at Giant Stadium. Like Mick Jagger, he goes on a run every morning, doesn't miss. The guy
Right.
running on stage, I go from where I was sitting, because I didn't have like, I was sitting in a box up top. But I go, if you told me that was an 80-year-old man running like that, I go, no way. There's no way. And it became like a viral video on Instagram of people like reposting this video of him running on
I saw it.
the stage. He looked incredible. I'm like, that's not your average set 80-year-old. I
You know,
want to be him. I'm looking forward into the future. I
me
live
too.
day to day, and I try to do as much as I can on a daily basis. I go, but at the end of the day, I want to be that guy. I don't want to be fucking having somebody wipe my ass at 80 years old.
I know, and I don't want my kids to take care of me.
Exactly.
That's what I've always said to them. I'm like, girls, you will never have to take care of me. Never.
Yes.
I will
Yes.
always be. And that's one of the things I talk about all the time is like, do you want to lose your independence?
You want to do that to people you supposedly say you care about. One of the things that I say to my mom all the time, and like kind of what freaked her out a little bit in the beginning, was when my dad had a heart attack the first time, and we had to take care of him. I go, we're like pulling him in and out of bed. We had to help him in and out of the car. And I go, this is only going to get worse as you get older, right? Like we're going to have to start like cleaning you and changing. And I go, if you say you care about us, don't do that to us, because now that takes us away from living our lives to help you live yours. And it's kind of selfish in a way, right? If you say you care
It's
about,
very selfish. Both of
yeah.
my mom had a stroke at 80.
Mhm.
She was in a nursing home for 6 years.
Yeah.
And it took a toll on me, especially because I was the one going to the nursing home every day. But she fell down and she broke her hip and she had a stroke.
Yeah.
And she never exercised, never watched what she ate. And so it is. I mean, I think part of that, we always hear people say being selfish about your health and wellness is not a selfish thing to do.
No,
It's
not at all.
selfless, because now we're taking the responsibility away from the people we love. We're like, we've got this. We're taking care of ourselves. We're eating right. We're exercising all the time. We're lifting weights. We got this. You don't have to worry about us.
Yeah. No, I think the breakdown leads to the breakthrough, right?
Mhm.
You know, so like when you start to break down who you are and understand who you are, and you start knocking down all the things that kind of hold you into this, they're like, well, I'm comfortable here. It's like, but comfort never worked for anybody. Nobody ever tells this glory days of the guy who had the easy life or the woman who had the easy life.
Mediocrity.
Yeah, it's the person who went above and beyond and tried things and did things that at the time were very uncomfortable, but led to the best things in the world.
Well, what was the most uncomfortable thing that you've ever done that helped you grow the most?
I mean, I try to challenge myself all the time and do very uncomfortable things a lot. There's a lot of days I don't want to go and train jujitsu. God, you know what it was? I think I was scared when I first got into playing sports. I didn't want to go away to like football camp and wrestling camp. And I was like, I don't want to go away for the week. That's like the first thing that kind of jumps into my mind, because I was fat and I was awkward and, I got, definitely picked on a lot. I didn't want to go and do those things, but those things led to me living this life. And there's a lot of times I think on a daily occurrence, like when I go and do all these events, I'm like, I don't want to fly out and go stay in a hotel room by myself and go to these different events. And it's uncomfortable to go to like the middle of Germany or Ohio, and I'm sitting there in these seminars by myself, but I'm learning and I'm growing, and it's like I I don't want to go, but when I get there, I'm very happy that I went. So it's on a daily basis. Like there's a lot of things that I do that are very uncomfortable or that might not come easy at first, but like these are the things that have led me to this point. Even the first time when I put my credit card down on renting the first space in 2019 or 2018, I rented a space for the event, and it was $80,000 worth of expenses that I had on this card. And I'm like, this is scaring the shit out of me because I don't have the money to pay for this. And every year I do the same thing. I'm like, I believe in this, and it's going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to have to cut back and live a different life than I'm used to living if I want to make this thing come true.
And that philosophy that you're talking about right now is what I feel that how you train your clients, how you talk to your clients. Like you've got to do something that makes you feel uncomfortable. We don't always know the answer, right? But we're going to find the right people to work with and put our trust in them and go through that uncomfortable. Putting $80,000 on your credit card is a really uncomfortable thing, and not knowing, am I going to get the money ever to pay this off? And shit, what happens if I don't? But you believe in it enough. And we were talking about purpose at the beginning. And I believe this is your real purpose.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think about it sometimes. Like when it comes to making this thing bigger and better, I have to be smart about it, obviously. But I think about it like I'm putting together a football team, right? Like I can't spend all my money on a quarterback. I have to spread this out and make it make sense across the board. And I have to get all these pieces in play to make it great. But I don't think about it like I want it to be amazing. I want this thing to be as big as it possibly can be. I don't know how big it could get, but I've been to huge events, and I everything from Coachella to some of these other music festivals. It's like people are celebrating music, and there's a huge drug culture involved. So it's like how do we get more people to feel good about actually feeling good and improvement? It's like I get it. That's a good time. It's a release. It's a stress reliever for sure. But it's like we could do all those same things with exercise.
I feel like right now, as you're speaking, I'm feeling very like you're very Tony Robbins in,
Which
in the
I've been
wellness.
to
Wait, it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
I've been to one of his events too, and I'm looking around the room. This is like 5, 6 years ago. I went to Tony Robbins. I'm looking around the room, and there are people crying and screaming and
Right.
obsessed, and they paid. I think a cheap ticket to Tony Robbins is $5,000.
Right.
And it's motivation, inspiration. It's like it feels good to go there. But I tell people, I go, the only thing that can make this better is if there was some movement involved. If you got up and moved and did
Reach
things,
out to him.
I would love to.
You should just do it right after this show is over. You should reach out to him.
Jody, if I sent you some of the prices that I've gotten from people who aren't half as big as Tony Robbins to come speak and stuff, like I've gotten people who send me bills. They're like, oh, well, if you want me for a half-hour talk, it's $75,000. I'm like, I'm not fucking Google. Who do you
Right.
think is calling you? Like,
Right.
it's also, I'm like, if I had the money, I would happily pay you, but I'm not like a Fortune 500 company.
Right.
I'm
Not yet.
going, I have no investors, no, like, because, and everybody's like, well, you should get investors. I'm like, yes, I could get investors. I go, but I want full ability to create this thing the way I want to. I don't want to be held to restrictions of like, can't do this, can't do that, can't say this, can't that.
No,
I
you
want
want to control it. You want to control the narrative. You want to control
yes,
what you have there. I get it. I
yeah,
totally get it. Rather you put your own money down there and you control because you have a vision. You
mhm,
have a very strong vision.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I know it's going to be hugely successful.
And it's not even like I didn't create it because I'm like, oh, this is going to be my money making scheme. I'm like,
Right.
no, I could see this being a valuable piece of, you know, uh, New York City.
Like the marathon.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And that's just based around running. They get 80,000 people to run 26 miles. I've ran the New York City Marathon 8 times. It is painful. It's hard. You know, this is to get 5,000 people to go work out and hang out and like, it's much more enjoyable. Trust me. I've ran the marathon. It's not as enjoyable as people think it is. It's fun. It's exciting. It's motivating, but like you're fucking beat up afterwards.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not a runner. That's something I've never done. I've lifted weights, and I know you've done everything from Jiu Jitsu
Yeah.
to Muay Thai,
Yeah.
and did I say that right?
Yep. CrossFit.
CrossFit.
I've done an Ironman. I've done,
Wow.
I've beat the shit out of my body just
Mhm.
so I could teach people like how to do. If you want to do it, you could do it. It's just, it's
Totally.
painful. It's hard. It's a lot of work.
It's dedication, it's
Yeah.
consistency, it's how, this is what I always ask my clients, how much do you want it? And when I want to do something that's uncomfortable for me, like when
Mhm.
I started competing at 47 and everybody told me I was too old, and I said, I
Love it.
want this. I want this. I remember looking at the women in Oxygen magazine and I said, I'm going to be in that magazine. I'm going to be on the cover of that magazine. I'm going to do this. And I was married at the time. My ex-husband said, no, no wife of mine is going to do that. You're not allowed. So divorced him and started competing. That wasn't the main reason, but
Yeah.
it's just, why does this matter to you? And what's driving you to do this? How much do you want it? So all the things that you've done and you've been successful at, it's how much do you want to do this? And
Mhm.
it's a lot, and that's what drives you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
There are nights where it's like, I'll get out of here at 7, 8 o'clock at night. And the only chance I could go and train, I'll call my trainer and I'll pay, 250 bucks to go work with my jujitsu coach. Just so I'm like, I need to continue to do this for my own mental health. And
yeah.
then just because I want to continue to progress in that as well. So I don't want to go. It's late at night. I've been at the gym since 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, but I need to train. It's uncomfortable, but like I need to keep going.
It is, and I'm sure you get asked that question often is when do you train, right? It's
Yeah,
like in the pockets of time that you have, you make it a priority.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have one last question to ask you.
True.
What does it mean for you to live a fearlessly authentic life?
I mean, it's everything. I wouldn't say I'm outspoken, but if I don't do it my way, I wouldn't be able to survive. I think we all have a gift to share. I said this randomly. I don't know why it popped into my head, but somebody handed me a microphone and I said at one of the events years ago, I said, we all have a gift. You should find your gift and share that with as many people as possible. And I think that's what being authentic is, realizing that that's what comes so naturally to you. And the more you give that out and the more you share that with people, the more fulfilled your life will be. So I think people need to live fearlessly and do the things they feel they need to do because it wasn't easy at first. There was points where I was sleeping in my car to do this for a living because I knew this is what I wanted to do. I was working 4 different jobs, getting up at 5 a.m., working till, midnight, sometimes 2 a.m. to go and do it again. But I knew this is what I wanted to do. And fast forward 12 years and I have a gym in New Jersey opening up soon, gym in New York, and I have this event that I pour my heart and soul into.
Where's your gym in New York and where is it in New Jersey? So for anybody in those areas that want to come there.
So my gym in New York is on 28th and 5th Avenue. It's a very
Mhm.
humble space. I have 2,500 square feet. It's not like I have this massive facility.
Right. And
Uh,
what's it called?
so I have the Strength Club NYC, and then there's the Strength Club Caldwell, New Jersey. So the other one's in right on Bloomfield Avenue in Caldwell, New Jersey.
Okay. And you're in New
So
Jersey again, right?
they're about 30 minutes apart.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. It has been such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Jodi.
Thank you for sharing so much about yourself, your journey, and being so vulnerable and open. I really appreciate it. I know everybody listening could feel your heart. I did. And everybody go attend Strong New York, and I will have information in this show about it, and I will keep sharing about it on my stories. Where can people find you, Kenny?
At Kenny Santucci.
Okay.
And then I started a podcast not too long ago. So that's at the Strong New York YouTube channel. So you could like and subscribe there. I bring on entrepreneurs and strong people like yourself to talk about the struggles of business and how hard it is to become an impact in life.
Well, it's been such a pleasure. I hope to
Thank you
see you
so much.
soon. And for everybody listening, thank you so much for joining us and go live your most fearlessly authentic lives. Bye-bye, everyone.